Well, hello and welcome to my latest news review. And please do like, share the videos, and take a look at some of the other videos that I've done as well. These are my views on British politics as a politics tutor. It's been a busy week. I've done quite a lot of tutoring this week, and I've been looking after my pussycat Russell, who had one hell of a day, sleeping it all off. One hell of a day on Wednesday, where he had to go and be neutered, so he was put under a general anaesthetic. I took responsibility for him, so he's microchipped, and now there's a database where he's my cat now. It's official. And so he had a general anaesthetic in the morning, got neutered, got microchipped, was tested for FIV and was positive, FIV positive, which means basically he's got to now stay in all the time. So I've had to sort all of that out and make sure that he doesn't go out, which is actually easier than I thought it would be, because he just wants to sleep and he just wants to be safe. He's spent years and years as a stray with no one looking after him. They think he might be as old as 14, but he could also be as young as 4. And the vet said, we're going to go for 7. How old is he? We don't know. But then also on Wednesday, I was having a little play with some string with him to entertain him. And then I had to go and teach. And in fact, I wasn't teaching. I was doing what we call a video chat with a potential new student. So I do 15 minutes for free, talking to the student about what they need, what help they require, and talking to their mum as well, and setting out how I like to teach and what I can do and all the rest of it. And then I came back from that 15-minute video chat to find that part of the string was on the floor, but a meter of it was missing. And I couldn't find it anywhere. It's not like if he dragged it away somewhere, I would have been able to find it. So my suspicion immediately was he's eaten a meter of string. A meter of string. What on earth is that going to do when it goes through him? So I rang my partner, who's been ferrying me about to the vet for the last couple of weeks, and Russell, obviously. And we had a good look for the string again, rang the emergency vet, went to the emergency vet, who gave him a solution to make him be sick, which he wasn't. So they then had to do an endoscopy, putting a camera down his throat to find the string. And to cut a long story short, I got that. It all started at about 7 o'clock at night. I didn't get home until 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning. And when I was driving home, I left the M1 to come back to Loughborough. And what did I come across? A car crash. So not only did I have to do all of that, I then had to call the police because I was the first person on the scene. This car was also abandoned. So this car had crashed and there was no driver. So the driver had got out and disappeared. So Wednesday was difficult. I've been sleeping it off. He's still sleeping it off, but he's doing okay. News review then. There's 2 things I want to talk about, but I want to link them up. How do we link this British Steel issue? Parliament is sitting right now on a Saturday. I'm recording this on Saturday. Parliament is sitting. It's 11:50 on Saturday morning. And the government is doing an emergency bill. Parliament has been recalled for this because it's the Easter break for MPs. They get the same holidays as students. Nice. And we've got this issue where the plant in Scunthorpe looks like it is going to go under unless somebody protects it and keeps it going. And that is exactly what the legislation sets out to do. It gives the Secretary of State, Secretary of State for what? Is it Secretary of State for Industry? Business? Jonathan Reynolds, yes, business, I think. Jonathan Reynolds, as Secretary of State, gives him really wide-ranging powers to control the steel industry in whatever way he sees fit. It stops short at nationalising the steel industry, but I don't think it's totally off the table. So there's that issue that's dominating British politics right now. And then global politics, US politics, is dominated by Donald Trump and his tariffs. And what I think about this is we are beginning to see, and we have been beginning to see for some time, a change in economics. In this country and around the world, neoliberalism has dominated economic policy, starting in this country with Margaret Thatcher and in America with Ronald Reagan, and they had a great relationship when it came to economics. The special relationship actually really existed. The special relationship is this odd phrase where America takes it much more seriously than Britain does, and it works best when you've got two people, a prime minister and a president, who actually get on. It happened with Thatcher and Reagan, and it happened with Blair and George Bush Jr. It doesn't mean they do great things. It doesn't mean that good stuff happens from it, but it means that their personal relationship is helpful to the special relationship. And neoliberalism flourished in the 1980s. Margaret Thatcher made it happen in this country, particularly after the 1983 election, where she had the political space then to attack the trade union movement. She used the miners to have a long battle, a year-long miners' strike, which we now know she wanted and in some regards engineered. And she used that battle to break the trade union movement, and then legislation was brought in to make it even harder for unions to go on strike. So ordinary workers lost an awful lot of power because their trade unions lost an awful lot of power. And the prevailing politics through the media and through the Conservative Party and their allies has been that that's a good thing. That allows progress. That allows more competition in the market, which means that the economy can flourish, growth can happen. Let's add reducing taxes for the wealthiest people. Margaret Thatcher also reduced tax initially for income tax, at least for the poorest as well. But the biggest gains were for the richest people. And then, of course, she came unstuck with the poll tax, which was incredibly unfair, taxing everybody the same rate, regardless of wealth, which was an astonishing thing to do, and say that that's fair. Something's changing, though, isn't it? So we've got the possible taking under government control of British Steel. It's going through Parliament right now. By the time this video goes out, that will be a done deal. There's not enough Conservatives to oppose it, obviously, and also not all of the Conservatives have turned up to Parliament. I see Labour's benches are full because they have to get this. They have to get this through. You can't have an emergency legislation, an emergency bill, and then the government MPs don't turn up. They have to get it through. Whereas the Conservatives, I imagine they realise they can't get it through. They can't oppose it fully. So instead of attempting to defeat the government, knowing it's a lost cause. Some of them have stayed at home. We're going to get this emergency legislation then, and the government takes control of British Steel. On top of that, we have seen in the past Labour's commitment to taking control and nationalising, indeed, the British railways. We also know that they have already set up Great British Energy. So we're seeing an increased acknowledgement that the state can use its power in the economy, that it can intervene in the economy. And this is something that we've not seen much of in the last 40 years, although this isn't the first. Let's just think about perhaps the biggest intervention in the economy in all of our lifetimes, 2020 lockdown, and particularly the furlough scheme. So first of all, the lockdown meant that people couldn't go about their ordinary business, something that was, when you think about it, shocking for a Conservative government to do, and it really terrified a lot of Conservative MPs. I remember people, howling in Parliament about it, and just anger that the economy was effectively being closed so that people could stay at home and not go to work. This is not neoliberalism, is it, at all? People are expected to work hard in a neoliberal economy and take their opportunities and keep the economy moving. And that was incredibly swiftly got rid of as an idea in the interest of public safety. It's amazing, considering that it is something that is ingrained in our politics, that neoliberalism is correct and we must have this free market. It was overturned overnight with emergency legislation, incidentally. And then you had the furlough scheme, where the government, a Conservative government, literally paying a lot of people's wages. Not directly, but paying the firms so that the firms could pay them their wages, and not all of their wages, but all the same, a government handing out money so that people could stay at home. So we have become used to government intervention, and I would argue that there's a lot of people in the public who actually value government intervention, and that despite the anger on the Conservative benches to this development with steel, I think there'll be a lot of people who will be incredibly happy that British Steel is going to be protected. Not least people in Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire. Well, I grew up in Lincolnshire, and I've been to the plant at Scunthorpe when I was 17. It's a long time ago. It was 1993 when I was doing my A-levels, actually, and I went on a school exchange, a cultural exchange, for 3.5 weeks to Gambia, and the return leg of which the Gambian students came to live with the British students. So there was a Gambian student who came to live with me in rural Lincolnshire and my family. And one of the trips we did on this cultural exchange was a look at British industry. And we chose to go to the steel plant in Scunthorpe because it was about just an hour's drive away from the school. And so I've been around this and I've looked around it. And Scunthorpe as a town really needs it. It's one of these places that a lot of people are employed at that one plant, and if it goes, what jobs are there for people in Scunthorpe? I mean, obviously, ultimately, people would find a job, but it would be a really difficult situation for that place. And of course, one of the reasons it's there in that location is that it's close to the River Humber as well, where there's ways of, getting produce to the site and away from the site, and it just makes sense for it to be there. So this is going to be an interesting thing. Saving that saves a lot of jobs, helps people spend money in their communities. These are the arguments for it, but it is a retreat from the free market. This is the government intervening in the economy, and neoliberalism might be disappearing slightly, might be in retreat, and might have been in retreat for some time, and now we're really seeing the impact. And someone is on the move looking for food. Is he looking for food? I'm glad he's not moving on to his tray, because that would be an unfortunate way to end the video. So I just want to end by talking about the tariffs that Donald Trump has been bewildering the world with. So massive tariffs one day, then a 90-day pause the next, and then some more tariffs, and then China retaliating, the EU saying that they will retaliate. All of this stuff. Again, that's not free market stuff, is it? So you've got the possibility that globalization is not really going the way that it was seen as going by the neoliberals. And so trade barriers for the last 40 years or even longer have been breaking down, and now they're going up. So the world is getting a more distant place. We might need to have our own manufacturing. We might need to be able to make things in this country if we can't buy them from elsewhere because the tariffs are too high. So having a steel industry might help. So we're seeing a fundamental change, and at the same time, we are seeing in this country, I think, a readiness for people to accept more government intervention. Where it goes is difficult to say, but those are the things I'm looking at this week. Those two things, the British steel being protected by the government and the tariffs around the world, are saying something about how our world is changing, and how this government, I wouldn't say this government is old Labour. I don't think it is. I think what they're doing is being pragmatic. They are not a socialist government in the traditional sense, but they are showing that they are not afraid to intervene when they think it's right. So that's an interesting thing in itself. And what I've got a feeling this is going to boost Labour in the polls. I've just got this feeling that this is going to be a welcome thing. That I suppose it might not be greeted well, the fact that they feel they've had to do it. So there might be questions like, could they have done it sooner? I've already seen in the Commons that there's been questions about whether they could have done it for other plants, steel plants, particularly the one at Port Talbot, which is now closed. So there are obviously some problems with it, but I think a lot of people will just think, well, jobs are saved. That's great, brilliant, job done. So it'll be interesting to see. The Conservatives are fuming, and Kemi Badenoch has said, you're doing this because the unions have made you do it, which is a classic neoliberal line, that Labour is beholden to the unions. I'm not sure that's true. But anyway, it's an interesting development. We will see what happens next. Russell is on his perch of books. So, happy studying, and I'll catch you another day. Hopefully, my life's going to calm down and I can do more videos. That would be nice. But bye for now.